On July 22, 1949, 62 years old Kathleen Whitlock was with her husband working in her ranch in Fawcett, Alberta. In the afternoon, Mr. Whitlock was 25 miles north of his home, working in Kishon, while Kathleen was herding her cattle when suddenly she disappeared. 2 boys living nearby went to check on Kathleen, but they didn't find her. They let their parents know, and soon the police was called and a search effort was started. All the local farmers and ranchers came out to help with the search, and the effort continued for 9 days. But nothing was found. There were police dogs, aircraft, and more than 100 searchers involved with this search. The area Mrs. Whitlock went missing is rugged with thick vegetation. The police asked for help from Royal Canadian Air Force, and they sent 25 airmen to search the ground, and also Canso aircraft to scour the land from the sky. At one point during the search, they believed they had found Kathleen's footstep, but following it didn't lead to anything. Kathleen knew this area very well as she had lived there for her entire life, so she couldn't be lost. Nobody also reported any suspicious activity of any vehicle going in or out of the area, which would be obvious. Neighbors said at the time Kathleen went missing, her cattle were misplaced and frightened. Could it be whatever that frightened the cattle took Mrs. Whitlock? Kathleen Whitlock was never found. J. Paulides was a light-hearted and grounded guy who studied photography at Columbia College in downtown Chicago. He was also an athlete and competed in wrestling during college. He always had a camera around his neck to capture every moment. The last time anybody saw Jay was on February 28, 2010. He walked out of his dorm in 525 State Street with his camera around his neck and his bag over his shoulder. Tiana was Jay's girlfriend for 1 year before this incident happened. She said, they exchanged texts that day and were supposed to meet up at Jay's place that night. She went to his dorm that night, but he didn't show up. The next day in the morning, Jay sent a text to his mother. In the text, he said he was busy last night and that he would get in touch with her soon. It's not clear if the text was sent on that morning or if he sent that text the day before and it was delivered in the morning. Friends said Jay went to a party on February 28th and he notified his girlfriend of that. 20 miles south of Columbia campus is Little Calumet River, a small harbor area with old bridges that cross the area. On March 2nd, 2010, the cold body of J. Paulides was found in the river. Jay's laptop, camera, and wallet were missing. Surprisingly, he was only wearing a t-shirt. He had no pants and no shoes. The police were baffled how Jay ended up in the south side of Chicago without a car. The cause of death was undetermined. The county stated there were no drugs or alcohol found in Jay's body. They said Jay had suffered extensive skull fractures and had broken neck bone. There were marks on his body from boat propellers striking him. 3 months after he was found, his family paid $15,000 to hire a private investigator to review the Cook County findings. Family's pathologist reviewed the evidence and concluded Jay was the victim of an assault. The family's pathologists and the private investigator lobbied the Cook County to change their findings to homicide, stating that Jay died from drowning coupled with injuries from an assault. This moved the case to Chicago homicide detectives. They started to look for Jay's laptop and camera with no avail. If somebody traveled by a car from Jay's dorm to where his dead body was found, it takes him 35 minutes to travel the 20 miles distance. There are many mysteries involved with this case, and they were never solved. John Collar was an excellent ironworker who lived in Langley, British Columbia. In November of 2007, the King of the Pit celebration was occurring at Great Stave Lake in British Columbia. 22 years old, John drove his white F-150 Ford pickup to meet up with his friends. John was last seen around 4 a.m. at November's 4th around the campsite drinking. Shortly after he was last seen, his friends found his car 200 meters from the main campsite, stuck in a sinkhole, still running with its wipers on and music playing. His cell phone and other belongings were in the car. At first, John's friend didn't think much of it and just got his car out of the hole. It wasn't until next day, when John didn't show up, that they started to get concerned and notified the authorities. Canines, helicopters, and 70 search and rescue personnel came to search. John's parents camped in the area for days to help with the search of their son. The search was massive and lasted for days, but nothing was found at the end. Around 1 year later, a kayaker was at Stave Lake, almost 5 kilometers from where John's car was found, when he saw a body in the water. He notified the police, and later, it was determined it was John Collar's body. There was no announcement on cause of death. Why did John leave his phone in the car? Why the canine dogs didn't pick up his scent? There are too many mysteries involved with this case that we will never know the answers to. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos.